Off the chain. Many tech people know about blockchain technology. Some have even heard of DAOs, Decentralised Autonomous Organisations. But these things are still relatively new to the cannabis sector. But UK-based DAO, Plantz, sees value in building a network this way. We catch up with co-founders Neil Cartwright and Sophie East to understand how this all works.
And welcome to the lobsterpot podcast. I'm Dave Barton, and today, remember a few years ago there was a lot of chat around blockchainy stuff, crypto and things like that. Well, it kind of died a bit of a death, but now it's sort of coming back a bit more, and we're going to be finding about today how the whole blockchain thing works with cannabis, because there's a thing at play. I'm going to let my guests fill you in on the deets. It's Neil, and we've got Sophie, the co-founders of Plantz with a Z. How you doing, guys? You right?
Yeah,
good. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on the show. So, I've said blockchain, I've said cannabis, but tell us more. What is Plantz? Who's it for? And what are you doing with it?
So I'm sort of the social aspect part of the team. So social media and plugging into influencers and the current community around cannabis that we already have here in the UK. And Neil is the amazing techie part of our team. So he knows all about the DAO more than I do. And I'm more sort of the social community builder in this team. Yeah, the yin and yang. We work really well. So Plantz is a new social platform. It's private members and it is aimed at the plant user. So cannabis is our full focus, but it will start to expand into other plant medicines, like cacao, superfood mushrooms, and start to have discussions about plant health and how people are moving forward and things like that. So we have connected on the site a friend of mine, the Mindful Nurse. So she practices well-being, spiritual well-being, plant medicine. She works in the NHS, and she's actually designing a program to train NHS nurses more about spiritual well-being and looking after ourselves in a positive way. So we've got people like her coming on, doctors coming on, and then brands coming on themselves that maybe create their own merch, or they have sort of their own following. So the collaboration of all the different little types of people in the community is starting to build quite a strong foundation, so to speak. So we've reached over 70 members now. Woo-hoo!
Cool.
It's been a low, slow sort of grow, but we're really proud of the people that we've managed to get on board so far. We did recently just do a partnership with UK Stoned Island, which is a lifestyle merch brand from the UK. So there's lots of plans up and coming for the next year ahead, with event spaces and parties and sponsorships and things like that. So we've got all of those exciting things going on. And then, of course, we're trying to do something that no one else has ever done. And Neil can tell you more about that part.
Yeah, no, you've said stuff around, you've said DAO, which is Centralised Autonomous Organisation.
Yeah.
Around social network. Still around cannabis. I mean, again, we kind of know that a lot of cannabis-related content is difficult to, it often gets sort of banned and things on social media platforms. So there's always a need for something specific. So how does that kind of dovetail into the need for a kind of decentralized? And what is a DAO? Tell us more, because it's something, I guess, it's quite crypto-y. I've dabbled, so I kind of know a bit, but tell us more.
I mean, it's come out of blockchain rather than being crypto in itself. It uses the same tools. Yeah. So what essentially, let me go back a step and just highlight how current companies work, because then we can compare it to how the DAO works. So
it's like a new company structure in a way.
Yeah. So a company structure, you can have a limited company, in which case you have to notify Companies House who the shareholders are, or you can go onto a stock exchange, in which case your shareholders are essentially, they can buy and sell your shares on a public exchange. That's fine, and that has grown up because of the physical world that we're in, the geographic world, which of course I'm going to contrast now with the digital world. So the physical world means it's very difficult to have a rapid turnover of shareholders. It's not expected. The DAO, on the other hand, is particularly good for communities. You imagine a community where it's a random group of people, and the only thing they've got in common is a passion for that shared interest.
And to be clear, we're not talking about the Dow Jones. We're talking about DAO. That's it. Just,
DAO.
Yeah.
I was saying the Dow. Hang on.
Exactly, not the Dow Jones.
Yeah.
So communities come and go. People dip in and out of communities. Some might be very passionate and spend a lot of time within the community. Others might just dip in and out when it suits them.
Yeah.
The company's house isn't set up for that. The stock exchange isn't set up for that. A DAO, on the other hand, uses the blockchain to show who is the shareholder. And so the blockchain can change in pretty much real time. So as you come in and input, you participate or you contribute, you join a group, you make friends, you add an article, you upload a video. All of that is a contribution to the community, and that can be reflected in a share ownership. We can allocate points for that contribution, and those points can be reflected on the blockchain, and that blockchain in effect becomes the company ownership. And when you come to vote or dividends, whatever it is, exactly the same as shareholders in a traditional company, we can treat our community as shareholders. So the community can own the company. Now, one big caveat with that is that the DAO isn't recognised in the UK as an official company structure.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. I mean, fingers crossed. There are countries, and there are
randomly in the US. Wyoming, wasn't that?
Exactly, Wyoming in
Cayman
the US.
Islands, the usual sort of tax haven suspects, and we're reluctant to go with those countries. So until we do that, the way we can reward our members is actually through prizes, so to speak. So with all of the retail that we've taken on board in our store, we allow a slider discount for our members to discount their products in the shop using their Plantz points. So say, for example, they wrote an article, we've awarded them 50 points, that equals £5. They can go into the shop and then discount something for a £5, and it comes out of our retail margin. So it doesn't cost us money to give the customer the discount, but the member gets the discount. They've added to the community, and the idea is that it grows and grows and grows, like the go-to book for all things cannabis, whether it's advice, a device, a group, a show, an event. We want our space to become the go-to hub.
Yeah.
So our practice DAO at the moment is prizes, basically.
Well, no, it makes sense. Again, what I know about blockchain is that, they talk about it being a ledger, like a record, a store of value, so that each transaction is, or each part of it has, it is part of this community consensus kind of, because we say it's worth this much, then we all agree it is. So therefore that's what it's worth. And it's kind of, you're buying it, you're creating this kind of community that is incentivized, but it's more than just a loyalty scheme. And I think that's the thing. That's the reward for participation in a way.
Yeah,
it is. And the loyalty scheme, I guess we're familiar with. So lots of retailers use loyalty schemes. What we're doing is putting that loyalty scheme, if you like, onto a blockchain, and that then gives us the ability to offer things like smart contracts, which in a company, if you want to govern a company, essentially it comes down to decision making, doesn't it? We have a hierarchy of management, and we expect the managers to make the decisions.
Yes.
With smart contracts, what you're essentially doing is giving everyone a vote based on how many tokens they have. So if you're an active, very passionate, motivated member, and you've accumulated a lot of tokens, that gives you a broader say in the strategy and the direction of the company.
Similar to being a sort of majority shareholder or something.
It's exactly the same. You have an AGM, and at the AGM, the shareholders all vote on important decisions. And then the company carry out those decisions until the next AGM. Well, this is exactly the same, only it's in real time. The contracts anyone in our community can propose an idea.
And we can vote on it.
And then the community get to vote on it.
And another part of our network, so to speak, is really important. Is, like I said before, we've brought on other brands that are part of they are members. The idea is to strengthen their businesses within our business. So, for example, we've got a couple of like sticker printers, merchandise makers, filmmakers, any sort of person who could be used professionally in the cannabis space has come on board, and then we want to push their services forward for all of our other members. So it almost becomes like the house of cannabis, basically, with all services from people of professionalism down to work, down to event spaces.
I mean, this is kind of what, again, when I was kind of working, I mean, I was doing a bit in sort of the sort of crypto and blockchain space, probably 2018. So again, before the whole thing kind of went into that,
It's still in that bit at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's sort of been a slow climb to kind of more acceptability. I know there were a lot of Web 2 apps and things that were being built on Ethereum that people were sort of objecting to and said they weren't as good. But again, it's that the things that I've seen that are relatively successful have always had the interest. They have kind of a cyclical path to kind of, sharing that value. It has to be from the consumers and the brand's perspective. And it sounds like that's the sort of thing you've got this kind of, there's value for everyone potentially who's engaged with this particular topic or community, but you've taken those kind of commercial considerations into
That's it. I mean, from the day you pay your subscription, you're allocated points, and again, that's how a lot of the blockchain works, where you buy the tokens. So you're buying the token. Your £5 subscription is essentially buying you those tokens every month, and then you can top up those tokens by contributing to the community. What Sophie mentioned about the other vendors, it's a little bit it's a way off at the moment, but perhaps one ambition is to deploy a token across several different vendors. So
universal credit that's available in a clinic, a pharmacy, in our store, with other brands that come on board for perhaps people that can't really afford cannabis, but they do have a lot of time to offer, and that could help everybody around that needs that information, because information is priceless. And there's not enough good information about cannabis out there. There just isn't.
No, there isn't. I mean, I guess a lot of it is, I think part of the thing I always find again, as we were kind of talking before we started recording around, the issues we're having in the UK about, raising the number of patients and things like that. You feel like, there isn't, I mean, I always feel like, maybe this is an unpopular view. A lot of the clinics are more kind of content to duke it out over 40,000 patients than kind of grow patient numbers. And it's kind of initiatives are needed to kind of do that, because again, a lot of the content they're putting out just feels kind of too skewed towards, bringing those sort of patients on, where it's not in that way. And we kind of need that impartiality the information exists out there for sure, but again, it's if we're talking about UK community cannabis,
and even sort of mainstream, like it's still not common knowledge that medical cannabis is available to us in the UK. I have conversations with people all the time. It's like, oh, what do you do? Work in medical cannabis? Like, oh, CBD though, yeah. It's like,
no, I know how that goes. No, absolutely.
Real fucking flowers, and they're just like, what? how, what, since when? It's like since 2018. Like
it was, yeah, it's like the
I
best
think what
or
needs
worst
to happen is like a huge billboard marketing campaign that is just boom, so in your face, it is unavoidable, and it just.
We should definitely talk after this, because again, that's something I've thought long and hard about. You know, how could you do something like this?
We're actually talking to somebody about doing something along those lines. So let's talk outside.
Something like that. I mean, again, I've seen a lot of the kind of, you know, some of the clinics are doing ads now. You know, you just scroll through the socials because you're in that kind of bubble. So you get kind of like, you see the really fads, and it's kind of, oh, did you know medical cannabis was legal in the UK? You know, you see a lot of that. Or you've seen the, was it the Curaleaf ads they put on, was it on YouTube? It's like,
isn't it?
I don't have to smoke it. And
yes, all those. I mean, we operate as we obviously want to encourage people to go into medical. We come from medical background ourselves, but we do bridge over into the self-medicating market as well. So in that sense, we want to provide education for people. We want to provide the resources for them to understand themselves what cannabis is its efficacy for patients.
Yeah, I mean, again, free from the judgment of whether it's, you know, procured illegally or other, you know.
That's right. I mean, if we accept as society that cannabis can help some people, then it can help all people. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be a medical cannabis patient in order to benefit from cannabis. One of the aspirations, just talking about the tokenomics as well, is and Sophie alluded to it before. You know, one thing that we're acutely aware of is the cost of medical. The cost of the cannabis, you could say, is similar to street price, but the cost of the consultation, and the script, they all add up, right? I mean, it's
but they expensive. The prices are starting to slowly drive down. What I think will happen now is all of the clinics or operations that have large pockets to sift through this time, they will eventually narrow down and the cost will be a lot lower and it'd be more accessible to people. But that's not going to happen for a while. Well, they will fight it out at the moment. They're fighting it out over the same patients instead of realizing if we just lowered the cost and the access now, the numbers would rise like crazy. But it's off-putting. And then, like, the process itself going through a prescription was actually quite stressful.
No. You said you'd recently become a patient.
Yeah, and for someone who's, I'm diagnosed with anxiety disorder, so having to wait and all of that forms and not knowing, it wasn't a nice experience. You know, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be, but it did take a little bit of back and forward of the doctor, for example, saying no to giving me my healthcare summary, asking me for money until I said that I'm exercising my legal right, and then they sent it me right away. It's just a little bit like...
No, it's not conducive to an easy user experience. But again, it's just because I feel like, I mean, similarly, I didn't experience similar issues when sort of getting my prescription a couple of years ago. But at the same time, it was just... You know, I can understand why people are hesitant when you start saying you can link your medical records to this. Did you know that? You're just like, oh my God, my GP is going to think I'm, you know, people do have these genuine concerns.
Absolutely. If you're in the services, if you're in teaching, education, health, having something like that on your healthcare record, you're still a bit nervous, right? And it shouldn't be like that.
Still, like, quite a few strange questions. Like when I ask my friends and stuff if they would be interested in going into it. A few questions that sprung up that have started to make me think there should be like an FAQ questions like available for people, because my friend, she's a dental nurse. She doesn't know whether that's going to affect her actual licensing as a nurse. And I said, surely not, because you don't have to declare private medication. But if they ask you, then you have to. If they ask you, are you taking any daily medications, and you say no, that's a lie, right? So, and then another friend of mine, he's got some supercars. He drives a collection of high power cars. He was extremely worried about going into it because of insurance purposes. So all of these sort of like floating question marks need to have more of a straight answer available for people, and we hope that Plantz is going to start to be able to deliver that for people.
Well, absolutely. And again, you know, looked in kind of cannabis kind of Reddits and things like that where people are having those sort of discussions. But again, there is a need for this information. There is few places that you could authoritatively say are actually providing that, I think.
Yeah, and one of the bedrocks of Plantz is the research. So we're very keen. We've got thousands of links to research documents, publicly available research into cannabinoids and terpenes. So that research is out there, and we were donated
thousands
of links. Someone donated it all to us. So
12 years of research, to be specific.
Wow.
So we're really, really keen to make sure that research and finding a way to make that available. So we're discussing with a couple of other Plantz members. This is the other beauty of working within this community framework, is that people, as soon as someone joins Plantz, it's a win-win. Because once they're a member of our company, they are in effect a minority shareholder. So it just means that you can collaborate with people. It makes it easy. You don't have to, you're not constantly sending each other NDNAs and memos and shareholder. It just makes it far easier to collaborate and work together.
It's in their best interest
a
for
real
Plantz
beauty
to grow. So the more we grow, the more they can grow. The more members we get, the more services we can push. And it's just, I can see this becoming a really beautiful thing. And I'm really excited.
Absolutely. And I think there is a need for it. And again, so I mean, just to kind of summarize, and if you're, again, just someone, whether you be a patient or, consumer, or just interested in cannabis, there's benefit for you to join as a kind of individual to kind of get involved, and because you'll be connected to that broader community of, cannabis experts, enthusiasts, and companies as well. But for kind of what's, again, for retailers and brands and things like that, the value is from access to a pool of potential consumers, as well as, people who are passionate about it.
Consumers, several are big social media influencers in their own right. We've got device manufacturers, device suppliers, there are doctors, there are clinicians, we've got pharmacies on board. So there is, and we invite our members to suggest projects to us. So the idea is to flip the whole business model on its head. In most companies, 99% of companies have a product, and then they go and find the consumer to buy that product. We're doing it the other way around. We're building the community and then saying to our community, what do you want? What products would you like? What cannabis is missing off the pharmacy shelves? Where can we fill the gaps? So there is a huge amount of resource within Plantz already. That each member can bring to Plantz, what they want to see.
Yeah.
And then on the outside of that, the suppliers of all of these products will be keen to invite us along to interview, to try out products, to show the community what's available without them having to purchase. So Plantz can be for both sides of the fence, the consumer and the supplier, because we aim to just do everything, right?
Yeah.
So
how can we get involved? Where can we get involved? How do we join?
So you sign up to Plantz with plantz.io.
Plantz with a Z.
Plantz with a Z.io. It's £5 a month to sign up monthly, or it's £50 for the annual subscription. And then those are given to you in tokens, Plantz points, prizes, basically.
Do you need to get a wallet or anything, or can you just hold them?
There isn't a digital wallet now, but we're part of a beta DAO where we're
working on it, basically. We're working on getting our own digital wallet, but for now it will just show us points in your account, and then you'll be able to use those in store to discount product.
Very cool, excellent. Well, that's it. I'll put a link in the chat, not the chat, the blurb when we go on YouTube, and hopefully
fantastic. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, and we'll get to speak to you soon. I hope to see you in person soon again. So, all the best.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.